started shooting when I worked as a missionary in South Korea. Picked up the camera, borrowed it from my mom for the year, and with that experience, I just really started to enjoy the process of discovery and shooting images. It was cool. So when I was a kid, about 9 or 10, my sister and I would go into our garage, which my dad would seal off, and put a darkroom set up, and we would print all of our photos that we would shoot from our vacations. In addition, we did a lot of, the whatever that movie stuff was during the time, and I can remember just doing a lot of imaging when we were kids. Yes. So we traveled a lot, and I remember my father being coming back from his military service from when he was in the Navy, and he had brought home a Nikon F with all of the lenses from Taiwan, and he would just put it in my hand, and I would go off and shoot whatever I wanted to shoot. And I think for me, it was a way of meeting people, a way of having a conversation because I was the youngest child, and typically the youngest child is always ignored, and I wasn't that person to be ignored, so I would go out and just for whatever reason use the camera to meet people and to just to learn. I like to learning about the environment around me. I don't always I don't always carry a camera, but when I do, I shoot Leica. That's my plug. What inspires me? I think what inspires me most is hearing the stories of people's lives. To be honest, I love sitting down and especially with the older generation, sitting and listening to their stories because they have a lot to express about life and its meaning. And I think that for all of us, learning about what life means is the most important thing. And if photos contribute to that, I think it's the best thing in the world. Let's be honest. Yes. And the reason I say that is because I'm an equipment buff. If I could have every camera to shoot with, which I've had in the past, I mean, I've shot everything from Hassies to, to the current incarnations of digital cameras. It's just fun to be able to shoot with everything. I think I've shot with every single kind of strobe there is, from Profoto to Hensels to now Godox. I think it's just cool having the stuff. So when I look at a photo, you associate the equipment that you used at the time with that particular photo, and how that use of that particular equipment helped or enabled you to be able to get the shot that has meaning. If I could pick one, I think it would be the Korean adoptees and caretakers, just because it was a moment in my experience in life where my roommate and I, who were working as teachers and missionaries in South Korea, um, escorted, I think is the word, four toddlers who were put up for adoption. And we escorted them from Seoul, South Korea, all the way to New York City, all in one. I mean, here's these young 17-year-old kids taking four toddlers on a jumbo jet all across, the ocean to meet their adoptive parents. And I remember doing the paperwork and signing them off, and having the caretakers hold the four kids, toddlers really, not more than a year old, um, for us, and seeing just the emotion and taking that real quick snap of them. And I mean, this image has stayed with me for the past 20 plus years because I haven't seen what has become of them, and I've always been interested what happened to these toddlers because they're I'm sure now married and probably have kids now, and I would like to just see them someday and say, hey, my roommate and I were the ones who brought you to America, and just introduce ourselves. So I think for me it has an emotional attachment because there's such a, I think for me, a profound story behind it. Yes. I love black and white. I think it strips down all the extras and makes you look at the content of a photo. Because I think color sometimes just, you're looking at color and you're not really looking at what the image means. With the black and white, all that's taken away. So I came up with the idea for the name of the show of moments converged, and what that means is I think every photo happens when everything converges together. The moment has to converge, and the photo is taken. So that's why I called it of moments converged. Absolutely. Yes. Every once in a while, people just get upset. It is what it is. But I think with street photography, there is that element today, especially, of people being upset. It always has been like that, but I think especially more so now. It just happens. Right now, Nelson Photo. These guys are great. I think it's beautiful that they have put aside a space for photographers to put their work up. Um, I think on the devices that we have, computers and tablets and phones, the images are moving too fast for us to really observe and to understand. And when you put it on a wall and you can stop and look and read and observe, I think that is what the human mind needs in order to be able to understand. And of course, you can look at some of my work on my website, www.jeremydelizo.com.